G'day V, and welcome back to the Her Game Our Tech podcast. We've now reached the second leg of the UEFA Women's Champions League semi-finals, and this week we find out who's going to be heading to the final. Exciting stuff, don't you think, Romy?
Yeah, absolutely. The first legs already gave us a lot to talk about, as Barcelona showed once again why they're considered the benchmark in the women's game with a strong performance against Bayern, although the two teams drew 1-1 in the Allianz Arena last week. While the tie between Arsenal and Lyon finished 2-1 in London, which set up a really tense second leg. So everything was on the line for all these four teams. And today we will share how exactly it went and who are the finalists.
In today's episode, we're going to break down how those legs played out, and we're going to get into our predictions for the final. First of all, I'm Charlene, and joining me is sports writer and journalist Rumiana.
So let's get into it, I suppose. Yeah, so hi again, everyone. I'm Rumiana, and let us first talk about the crazy game in Barcelona. 6 goals in total. Barcelona won 4-2. So this game, we talked about it last time. I remember very clearly. We gave our predictions. I think you, Charlie, were very adamant that Barcelona will go through. So congratulations on guessing that. I will be very honest. I had faith in Bayern. I believed in them, but I guess they just weren't strong enough. They weren't strong enough for Barca. So 4-2, as I said, this game ended, which means that the total result of the two legs is 5-3, which I don't think is bad. I think Bayern put in a solid performance, but just Barcelona, as I said earlier, are an absolute benchmark. So they just started right away. 13th minute goal by Parayuelo. But actually, Bayern returned one in the 17th, just 4 minutes later. Dalman scored for 1-1. So again, it truly looked like everything is on the line. Like in that first half, we had no idea, or at least I had no idea who will go through. But then Barca got one again 5 minutes later, very intensive. The goals were just coming like every 5 minutes. Putellas, who is pretty much woman of the match, she put in a very strong performance in that game. So Alexia Putellas in the 22nd minute again put Barca in the front. And then that second half it began, and then almost right away again, 54th minute, uh, Payor with another goal. We've got used to it. I feel like in every episode we've recorded so far, Eva Payor has gotten a goal. So 3-1 for Barca, and they just uh, 3 minutes later again Putellas, and I feel like this is where the game was kind of done because Bayern really seemed like out of it. They seemed done, especially in that 58 minute when the score was 4-1. Even though what impressed me and I like that is that they didn't give up. So they came back 71st minute per Neil Harder with 2-4. So the second goal for Bayern. And then Harder actually scored another goal in the added time, which was cancelled by VAR, but that would have been 3-4 for Bayern. Again, not enough to proceed, but still, what impressed me is that like will to fight. Maybe important to point out is that Aitana Bonmati is back for Barca. She got a standing ovation. Uh, Super cool also that the stadium was like filled to the brim with people. There were many people at that game in Barcelona. I'm not sure. I think they played. Correct me if I'm wrong. At the Camp Nou,
Yep.
which was yes, they played at the Camp Nou. It was not full, like the whole stadium, but still the first two levels, or how to call it, very many people. So yeah, Aitana is back, the Barcelona, the star of the team, one of the stars actually, because this team has a lot of them. So she's back from a lengthy injury and got a standing ovation. But yeah, so this is how this game played out pretty much. Very intensive, many goals, and in my opinion, Bayern tried really hard, but I suppose just no one can come pretty close to Barcelona, and I fear I'll have to admit that they probably will grab that trophy, but we'll talk about that predictions later. Why don't you just start us off on how you saw things tactically in that game, Charlie?
Yeah, interesting to note that Klett was obviously out due to her red card in the first leg for pulling, I think it was Paralueo's hair. And Balziger, so a centre back, started on her left back position, which Barcelona was very eager to exploit since it got obvious in quite a few attacks that, she's more used to cover the center and sometimes doesn't know when's the right time to move out of position to press like the positional winger or when to defend the center. So she had a few problems with her positional play, particularly in the first 20 to 30 minutes, which Graham Hansen was really happy about at a few occasions. And also on the other wing was probably the even bigger hazard, which is probably more surprising given that Julia Gwynn, Bayern's right back, was like fit in everything. However, as much as I like Julia Gwynn, and I do think she's a world class player, no doubt about it, I don't think she's a world class defender per se. And you could see that last week with the goal when she ran to the outside and left the center or like the half channel vulnerable, and Parueo was able to exploit that to make her run and assist for Paio. And this time around, you were also able to see that on a few occasions that Parueo got in a 1v1 and won that one, or that Bruchts from the left back position came came and made the overlapping run, or one of them would hold up the ball deeper and the other one would overlap on the out and outer wing and have quite a bit of space then to deliver it across. In general, it must be said that Barcelona really weren't efficient with their chances. I think the game could have been decided a lot earlier, if I'm being honest. Like Bayern's first two shots both went in, and the second one was in minute 70 something. The harder goal. Was it harder, the second one?
Uh, I think so.
Yeah, it was the harder goal. I just remembered that was the second shot on target Bayern had.
Oh wow.
But to be fair, in the last 20 minutes after that second goal, Bayern were way more aggressive. They pressed like hell. They basically got to a point where like all 10 outfield players were at least in Barcelona's half and pressing high, getting aggressive, getting in there immediately after they lost the ball. They would do gegen pressing. So real different. And you could tell that Barcelona was caught off guard by that because, look, I don't watch any games in the Spanish league because I haven't got the time, but I can imagine that that's like an approach a lot of teams choose against Barcelona. And so it definitely caught them by surprise, and they couldn't handle all of the pressure. And by like quite a few ball wins up high, they hit the crossbar twice, and they had quite a good amount of chances. But yeah, too late against a team like Barcelona. When once you're like 3 goals behind, it is really tough and close to impossible, really, to still equalize. And yeah, Julia Gwynn, I also remember one of the goals where she doesn't come out and Palueo can cross completely free. I think it was the free one. And Dahlmann tries to intercept the cross, who's obviously like the right winger for Barcelona. And Gwyn is way too central, which is probably like a reaction to what she was told after last week's match that she should cover the center more, since that's the space she gave up for the goal. But here I thought it was a bit too much when it comes to that. In general, Paralueo, I would make my case that she's the woman of the match and not Putellas. I get that for like most statistic portals and stuff like that, since Putellas has more ball contact coming from the center and more passes and all of that, and obviously scored that amazing bicycle kick. However, I do want to say that Paralueo basically dismantled Bayern's right side, and it was just another pure class game. Like what I said earlier, like she also assisted in the first leg, and Also, it talks a lot about Barcelona's depth that they only have 17 players registered, but still, the player they sub in for Paralueo is Vicky freaking Lopez, and they also sub in Bonmati.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking earlier.
They subbed in the three-time Ballon d'Or winner of the last 3 years. And also, I don't know about you, do you think they brought back Bonmati prematurely?
Um, to be fair, I don't think so because I this will sound a little bit funny, but like I follow her on Instagram and she's been posting like throughout her recovery process, So I do remember like all like the some months back when she was still like in the cast after the operation and then like removing the cast and like starting to like slowly exercise and whatnot. So I even if I wanted it or not, I kind of followed her recovery process. So I don't think so. I don't think she would like come back prematurely if she didn't like feel it. And I don't think they, as a team, she and Barca as a team would risk it because I think that's a huge risk if someone comes back after injury prematurely in this way. So I don't think so. But that's my opinion. I wanted to ask you about Julia Gwynn actually, because you talked a little bit about her. Do you think that she plays in the wrong position, like as a whole for this team for Bayern? 'Cause do you think that perhaps she's not meant to be like a right back, or at least SofaScore is showing her as a right back?
She does play as a right back, but rather a right wing back. Like it's for some build-ups, when Bayern does their usual 3-2, like three in the back and to the middle, one of the fullbacks will push up high, and sometimes it's Gwyn, and sometimes it's the left back, who's usually Franzi Kett. But she more or less plays wing back with the ball. Um, but the thing is, for a team like Bayern, who dominate every like week in week out every league match, I do believe that you do need um some for like a fullback that is really creative and can do something with the ball. So I get why Bayern would deploy her in that position. However, I do think you've got a point that her best position might be like a wing back in a system that just usually plays with a back three or back five, respectively, and where she can push up a bit higher and have more freedom since it's three center backs. And like despite what I said earlier, Bayern are playing with a back four. Just in build up possession, one of the fullbacks will push up a bit higher, and one of the fullbacks will like be basically the third center back to for build up, so that there's a triangle more formed, and it's basically a thing in football tactics that you want to have as many triangles as possible when you're a possession heavy team, since it gives the player on the ball at least two passing outlets. Um, I do think for like a dominant team, yes, but in this case, where Bayern was a team that had to defend more and obviously was the team with less possession, I do think she gets shown her limits more. And despite like my criticism earlier, I believe that Julia Gwynn is a world class player, no doubt about it. It's just that defending isn't her strong suit.
I see. Yeah, that's interesting. I agree with you. I think she's a really good player, and quite versatile. So perhaps maybe in like next season or like in other games, she can
Yeah.
be moved around, I suppose.
And also I wanna add that to the one Mati thing. I just meant as having her making her comeback in a knockout second leg match, and like not in a league match, because like every player after injury, I believe, needs like some rhythm to like get back to their former self when they haven't played in months. And I mean, she was out like half a year or something. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
But
she was out for quite a long time.
yeah, but like bring her back in a Champions League knockout match maybe was a bit early, because I know it's like the first game after injury, but also it's like the biggest stage you've got in European club football. She had like quite a few howlers. To be fair, like you can miss that one chance she had after a long pass from I think it was Putellas on the counter when Bayern were pushing up high in the last 15 minutes, where she then just squeezed it a bit wide against Mamutovic. By the way, great match from her. Like it's a bit hard to say that about a goalkeeper who just conceded four, but I do think Mamutovic had like a decent match, and I feel a bit sorry for her here. But it was just that Barcelona had such a plethora of chances that it's only logical that a few of them go in when like world class talents do take these shots. However, also Bomati did like a few errors that are like really uncharacteristic, which is normal after an injury and being like out of a rhythm of playing week in, week out. But she loses the ball at the 4-2, and that's like standard back pass. And those are the ones you do have to be clean about in a match against a team like Bayern. Bayern are obviously weaker than Barcelona, but still, they are still afraid. Like they didn't go all the way to the Champions League semis for nothing.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Now I get your question better, and I feel like it makes more sense what you said for her to be brought back in a league game, but perhaps maybe it's a psychological thing, the way I see it, and I'm thinking about it right now, as in like maybe she's being brought back now, as in like to throw the opposition off or be like, hey Bayern, like look, our like star player with three Ballon d'Ors is back, so like you better watch out, this type of thing, you know what I mean? It could be
Yes,
that.
good point. Didn't think about it that way.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought when you just now when you spoke. uh could be that, or could be just that she is ready and they decided for her to make her comeback just in a freaking Champions League semifinal because they're Barcelona and they can afford it, I guess.
For the record, I
Uh,
trust a medical team of a professional football club way more than my expertise, which, just to be clear, is none. I just thought from a footballing standpoint, not from a she will get another injury again
yeah, of
standpoint.
course. Of course, no, I share this opinion. We trust the doctors. Yeah, I feel like what you said makes a lot of sense. This is what usually happens in men's football, let's say, like when someone is out or like a star is out or whatever from a lengthy injury, they come back usually in a league game, maybe in a cup game, but I guess rarely, but not in a Champions League semifinal. But then again, it's football. Like as we've seen, anything could happen. So, yeah, as you said, she wasn't herself that much. Like she wasn't. She was mistaking passes and whatnot. I think she'll slowly but surely go back to like her usual form. Like
Yeah,
this
and she's
for
got like
her
a
was
few league matches to get back into it for the final, which
yeah,
spoiler, Barcelona obviously reached. What I
yeah.
also wanted to
Now,
say, by the way,
yep.
do, any takes about Irene Paredes' Champions League campaign?
Hmm. She is one of the lowest ranked players of that game from what I'm looking at. I also feel like it doesn't seem like the Irene Paredes that we know, like that are used to see, I guess. I don't know like what's up with her, but she's just like kind of invisible, so to speak, like not every player is an important player on the pitch, like to not get me wrong, I don't want to like discredit her in any way,
Yeah,
but
of course.
yeah, I feel like quite unstable. mm, so not so sure, but she's a solid starter in that Barcelona team. I don't know what the deal is there. What do you think?
Um, I it's what you said earlier. Like I was surprised how many mistakes she's made this season because well, like going into this season, I still like thought of her as a world class center back, if not the best on earth. Which she's still great, but in a match like this, she was really not having a great performance. Like she's the one who loses the ball at the 1-1, and Barcelona when talk about that earlier, but I'm just gonna scratch it now. Barcelona played with a very lofty, basically 1-4 build up. Like it was only Marpi Leon at the back distributing, and then like all other players were advanced, and so when you lose the ball in the second level of this build up, worst case scenario, you've got only one defender at the back, and you could see that at the first goal when I think Hard and Dahlmann dismantled. Yeah, the defense at that point was only one defender, and also she really didn't look too good at the second goal when she got nutmegged by Harder, and she really had a howler in that match. And also, I didn't think she had the greatest match the week earlier. Like Mapi Leon, both as a distributor and as a 1v1 specialist, impressed way more, in my eyes at least. And I was quite shocked, honestly.
Yeah, I do remember us like in the previous weeks or last week, as you said, like us talking or like mentioning something about it. That yeah, I'm not sure. It could be that she's tired from the season. It could be something personal, but yeah, not sure. Again, like to sum up, where the drop in performance comes from
Yeah,
with
and
Paredes, but yeah.
she's obviously still a great defender, has obviously a lot of experience, and with the ball, she definitely did have an amazing game yesterday. Like when you look at her passing stats, they are great, honestly. But it's just that against the ball, she was shown her limits, and I don't know. I've never seen that from her particularly before.
Many things, but yeah, I just hope she's fine, like personally and physically. And yeah, seasons are long. We're almost coming to the end of it, so yeah. If you don't have anything else to add about Barca and Bayern, we can slowly move towards the other second leg.
Okay, then let's make the jump to the other match between Arsenal and Leo. And can you hear that? It's coming home. It's coming home. It's coming.
Oh no.
Football's coming home. Yes.
Oh Lord. Yeah, Arsenal lost, so they're coming home for sure. They went home. Yeah, I think you were very right. Your prediction. I think you said you had a gut feeling or something about
Yes.
this one.
I
Yeah,
said I said my brain says Arsenal, but I've got a gut feeling that Lyon can do something here, and they freaking did. Woo!
yeah, yeah. I love how happy you are about it. So yeah, for our listeners, Lyon won 3-1 at home. So with an aggregate of 4-3 from both legs, Lyon are the other Champions League finalists. So, but the game itself, the second leg, um, again, it was not as many goals as Barca Bayern, but still a crazy game,
Forks
in my opinion.
in the Champions League semi-final.
Yeah, so because it started with the like penalty that was awarded, that Lyon were awarded. They had to retake it. So the first one was saved. So the first try of the penalty, Dom Solar actually saves it. But then I'm not sure, or maybe I didn't get it. Did you see like why they had to retake it?
Yes, it's this rule that got introduced, I think, in 2021, that when a penalty is taken, the goalkeeper has to have at least 1 foot on the goal line at the moment where the shooter hits the ball.
Right. Yeah.
And
So
I
yeah.
personally really dislike this rule because I think the keepers are a position of disadvantage as is in that moment, and I really dislike that the goalkeeper gets regulated like that, and particularly in the first 2 seasons when like goalkeepers still got used to it, quite a few penalties had to be retaken, and I hated that. But they, yeah, they've adapted to it rather well. But here at Van Domselaar obviously does the mistake.
Yeah, unlucky. I kind of agree with you, to be honest, about that rule, because like I've played as a goalkeeper, and you, even though it's like people view it as this like static position, it's not, because you're like in motion all the time. But like when you get, when you have to like, when you're in the position when you be saving a penalty as well, like you can't stand there like a statue. You're still in motion. So
Yeah,
I get where the rule is coming from. Like they're trying to make it like fairer, because if the goalkeeper doesn't have at least one leg on the line, it can be seen as an advantage, because she or he or they can like step like how to say, like to the front.
step out. Yeah,
So it's controversial. I'm not so sure. I get why the rule is there, but also having played as a goalkeeper, I can confirm that you cannot be like be static all the time. So yeah.
the thing is,
Anyways,
a
yeah.
penalty is a punishment that rarely fits the crime, because usually, like, every small contact or handball violation gets a penalty rewarded when it happens in the box. However, like, most of those chances wouldn't lead to a high level goal chance that a penalty is. According to a paper of Dr. Ulrich Brandes, it's a 78% chance to score a goal, and I think
Ooh.
uh, that's a that's a bit harsh for, like, that it's mostly like crosses that get deflected to a hand or something like that. I think it's and then, like, limiting the goalkeeper even more. I really like, it's been 5 years, but I really dislike this rule.
Yeah, I love the fact that you just quoted like an academic paper about it, just like casually. Yeah,
It's a good
yeah,
paper.
I don't know. Did you? I feel like you said like you quoted what you quoted just now. Is it an academic paper, or is
Yeah,
it
it's
a
a
book, or
it's a paper by a math professor who wrote
yeah?
about the probabilities of penalty. Funnily enough, it's a higher chance to score when it's a penalty shootout, when it's 82%, and when you get a penalty in the match, it's 78%.
That's really interesting, actually.
To be fair,
Uh,
the data was taken from men's football.
yeah. So that's yeah. While similar, we cannot equalize it with
Yeah,
women's,
exactly.
because yeah, different. So very
Also, it must be
quickly,
mentioned that Lyon score an early 1-0 that gets blocked by VAR, because Engen stands too close to Van Domselaar, and despite not being active, she stands in her way. I think it was that, because Heap scored like the 1-0 after 8 minutes or something of a corner.
oh yeah, yeah, and it got disallowed. Yeah, yeah. So this was before. Very quickly to come back to the result of the game before we transition to the like tactics. As you say, what you just said happens. Then the penalty happens, which I already mentioned had to be retaken because of this rule that we just discussed in length. But I feel like it's interesting. So,
Also, it's our
nevertheless,
show.
it
Sue us.
yeah, yes, literally. So yeah, penalty gets retaken and it gets scored pretty much 21st minute by Renard. So Lyon are 1-0 up. Around 15 minutes later, so 36, Diani scores a really good goal, assisted by Yule Brandt, who Yule Brandt is, I feel like, yet again woman of the match, like last
Yep.
time. So wonderful, great performance by her.
And
So yeah,
what an acrobatic finish from Diani. It's off a corner, and she's on the second post. Perfectly loses her defender and the other defender. I don't have the names ready, unfortunately. Oh, Russo, and Russo is pulled away by Johannes, and Diani runs off Kim Little, and so she's
mm,
free, and then has a relatively free shooting lane, but like from a difficult angle, and the ball comes in on a difficult height, but still she jumps in like an acrobat and finishes that perfectly.
yeah, yeah, that was a very like nice performance. Also, like to mention, Russo is not a defender at all, so I don't. like she was there to defend, obviously, the corner,
Yeah.
but it makes sense, like for there to be a mistake because she's just not a defender. But still, this doesn't discredit the quality of the goal. So Lyon are 2-0 up at the end of the first half and like beginning of second half. So yeah, again, like could go anyway. Actually, if it had ended like this, 2-0 for Lyon, they were through, I feel like.
Yeah.
Uh, but okay, never mind, because Arsenal did come back into the game quite late, like in the 75th minute, but exactly Alessia Russo. In particular, she was the goal scorer. So they did come back into the game. If it stood like this, it would have gone to extra time. So if it was 2-1 for Lyon, but it didn't because Yule Brandt, as you mentioned, the woman of the match, she was the one who actually gifted Lyon the spot in the Champions League final. In the 86th minute, I think that was like quite like perfect timing because it didn't leave Arsenal much. I mean, the additional time was 9 minutes, so they did have like time, but again, it was like quite towards the end. So psychologically, in any way possible, it hurt Arsenal a lot. This goal, it was checked by VAR and all this stuff. So, but it was good, so it was allowed. And yeah, Lyon are the other finalists with an aggregate of 4-3, which I think the aggregate shows us that the teams were quite level. As in, like, I don't want to go and say like, oh, this team was better or this team was better, just on the score, like purely based on the score. I mean, I know Lyon won, but still, Arsenal is a team. I think we all know that they have a lot of quality in there. So this for me, I know Lyon are like on paper having won and being in the final the better quote unquote team, but I can't help like but think that it was like a little bit lucky because they won with just one goal difference. But why don't you like start us and like tell us all about the tactics and like your opinion if this was like more on the lucky side or if this was more tactical, you know?
Hard disagree. As over 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 over
Let's go.
over 2 legs, I get your point because I do believe that Arsenal was the better team last week, but they were a bit better last week, and Leon was the much better team yesterday. I feel like. Um, do you want to guess what the first chance of note is for Arsenal?
Uh, do you mean what or when?
When
Uh,
59th minute.
I don't. No way.
Arsenal had one shot in the first half that was blocked instantly. That was in the 23rd minute, Caitlin Ford. And other than that, they were shockingly uncreative in the last third and shockingly
Wow.
unprecise. I did bring some stats here. Passes in the last third, like so in the oppositional's third, which obviously is the region that counts the most, since that's where you do score the goals. Lyon had 110 pass attempted, and 81 of those reached their target, which puts us at a quota of 74%, which is pretty good. Arsenal, on the other hand, 55% precision, with only 48 of 88 balls reaching the target. They were shockingly unprecise in the last third, and therefore didn't create an awful lot of chances. I thought that goal from Russo came basically out of nowhere, and that was more individual brilliance by two amazing players than anything else. Because Hollenberg that got subbed in assisted me, and Russo perfectly runs between two defenders. I think it's Heaps, and I unfortunately can't remember the other one, and just somehow pushes it in. World class finish from Russo there. But when you look at the key pass statistic, Lyon had 10 in total, and Arsenal only 5. And four of those five came from players that were subbed in, which was from the 60th minute onwards. Two of those by Holmberg, who I think by far was Arsenal's. best player since she had quite a few balls that went through in the last third, and if anyone was able to create a chance, it was her in this match. But I thought it was quite shocking, like particularly the first 60 minutes, how little Arsenal did. And I think the reason for that is the build up, because it was like a 3-3-4, which is uncharacteristically to have three people in the midfield like that. Also, like the last few weeks, Arsenal has done it differently against Chelsea, for example, and also in the first match. And they tried to have like three players in the midfield, and by that have a numerical advantage there, and then ship it out to the wings from one of the wide number 8 positions, so not from the central one, but like, the right number 8 tries to pass it to the right wing, and like that. But Lyon was pretty good in anticipating that and at intercepting these passes. Neither Ford or Smith, who were the two wingers for Arsenal, did get much action in terms of what they created. Neither of them has a key pass to their name or like a pass that into a dangerous area. When you look at the passing map, which are available on SofaScore, there's only one pass of Ford, which is where the person that receives it is at least at the edge of the box. And other than that, like the passes are either failed or not into the box. Meanwhile, when you look at Diani alone has three of those key passes. Jule Brandt had another, and just the precision in the final third, particularly, was so much better on Lyon's side than Arsenal's, in my opinion. And also, how do you feel about the third goal scored by Lyon?
Mm, I think Jule Brandt is an exceptional player. I I will come clean and say that I was like supporting Arsenal, as in like I was rooting for them, but like I can't be too mad about it because what I see in Jule Brandt as like player quality, and what she's done in both this leg and the previous leg, because we discussed her last time as well. Like I cannot be too mad about it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's a good goal, and like I will not come on here and say that oh, like she didn't deserve it or whatever. No, like yeah, I think she's an exceptional player, and um, quite quite possible that she will be very useful and like very important for Lyon in the final for
Yeah,
sure.
she's such
Like
a technically
mm,
gifted player, and like what I said last week, she's like quite a hazard and like someone who can create something out of nothing, basically. And she
yeah,
didn't have the most outstanding game on the ball for the most part here, but she had really good movement off the ball. She's the player who won the most duels. In fact, I think 9 out of 14, which is pretty good statistics. Like shows her work rate that's improved majorly since her Wolfsburg days. And like the way she gets the ball and uses two contacts there to square it perfectly into the long end of the goal, remarkable stuff. However,
yeah.
I can recommend that to anyone of pausing the replay of the goal at the moment when Dumonai plays the pathway. You've got 7 Arsenal defenders on the line at around the edge, or like 1 or 2 meters behind. 7 plus 2 people who try to put Dumonai under pressure there. None of them are energetic enough there to really put her under serious pressure because she's got like over a meter to herself to chip it in, which lovely delivery. The way she saw that and the precision with which she delivered it to Jule Brandt, remarkable stuff. Honestly, amazing pass. I've watched that goal 15 times yesterday. I'm not kidding. But
I think what you're saying like ties up together really well
no
how
one's mad.
like
Brandt!
bleak and how bleak Arsenal were, because like they were bleak like that. This you do not do this. Like I was truly shocked, to be fair, and in general, like this situation that you just spoke about, yes, absolutely, but in general as well, like taking for example like Olivia Smith, who last game was like one of the best players for Arsenal on the pitch. This game so bad, like so, and like also, but I know we've said how like we don't regard player ratings like on SofaScore as highly, but again, she's one of the like lowest rated Arsenal players in this game now, like in the second leg. She and like again Blackstenius. Where was Blackstenius? I don't want to sound like I'm like pointing a finger, but like yeah,
In their
uh,
defense, they didn't get much to
just
work with because, like I said, like the distributing was a disaster. But I do agree
mm,
with you that um, in the few instances where they did get the ball, they also didn't do an awful lot with it. Um, I think they were just lacking service, like I said. Like here, I've got my statistic. Caldente, who was one of the pivot players for Arsenal in the center, Caldente and Little's distribution, particularly in the oppositional half, was really lackluster in this match. Caldente had a passing percentage of 58% in the oppositional half. 58%. That's horrible. And also, Little had a 64% passing rate in the oppositional half. So a bit better, but not great. I think both Caldente and Little, it's tough to put like on individual players, and I don't want to do that here. However, you do need more from your pivot players in terms of distribution than something 60% in precision. And like I said, Caldente 58% in the oppositional half. I mean, like you're giving your strikers nothing to work with. That's what I said. Like, I think it's that one is actually a tactical error, and it's obviously so much easier to talk about that stuff after the fact. Hindsight is 2020. I'm not saying I'm smarter than Renee Zeglis. Like, I do not. Just that no one interprets it that way. But I don't get why they didn't change anything in the second half when they saw that the space between the pivot player and the wingers was too great to make a decent pass because Lyon would intercept it or just straight up block the passing lane in the first place, and therefore even stopping the Arsenal players from attempting that pass.
yeah, I have a bold take as well,
Oh, hit me.
like about Chloe about Chloe Kelly, and we know she's not a starter in that team for one or another reason. But I don't know. Like, first of all, why wasn't she brought in
I
earlier?
think
I
I think
guess
because it was like a fitness issue. I think she came back from a minor muscle injury, but I'm not 100% certain.
could be. Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, let's say about let's like exclude this game, the current game from the narrative, but just in general, because she came to Arsenal from Man City, I think, and I feel like I don't know what her expectations were, but I personally thought that she would go there and be like in the starting lineup. Maybe not every time, but I I'm not like extremely and closely familiar with what Coach Renee Sledger's philosophy is, and like what like but I feel like if Chloe Kelly like had started more games, because like we saw and we've talked about, I think in our first or second episode, how like crucial she was for England to get to win the Euro last
For
summer.
Arsenal too last season, and also in the Champions
And
League campaign earlier, I think she scored one of the goals against
yeah,
Chelsea in the
yeah.
first leg.
So every single time I just ask myself why this woman is not or was not in the starting lineup more often. But yeah, again, as you said, I'm not the coach, so and this is again not to discredit in any way Blackstenius, who is like the forward, or Smith or Russo. I'm excluding from this because Russo is a world class talent, and the fact that I think she came second for the Ballon d'Or, speaks for itself. But
Hopefully, by the way,
yeah,
this match ends any Alessia Russo Ballon d'Or articles because I think it was only two, and I did the mistake of going to to some Arsenal forums. Oh my god, man! If first of all, it's baffling to me to feel like the Ballon d'Or is decided when the most important matches of the season aren't even played yet. But also
yeah,
Arsenal with this match, and we'll maybe do like after season episode where we talk about that. I think this season is a disappointment for Arsenal because they won't win the league, and with this game, they also can now wave the Champions League goodbye. I believe they have a disappointing season for their measures.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Whilst Russo is obviously world class, she's part of that squad at the end of the day. and
Yeah,
with
no, I get what you mean. Yeah.
and with Kelly earlier, she's by the way also the person who loses Jule Brandt. But to Kelly's credit, she's the only out of 7 Arsenal defenders in that moment who's on the left side anyway. Sorry, it was
Well,
just really baffling to me that Jule Brandt was allowed 2 touches there.
mm, yeah. I I don't want to like get into the debate of Alessia Russo Ballon d'Or. Um,
I'm just thinking of English football
I
media just in general. They are
yeah,
they are
she. I
less
think there
unbearable
was a
in
lot
women's
of.
football. I'll give them that because also the English women also do tend to win something. But she's like the arrogance of English sports media, man. Ugh.
It was very polarizing when Aitana won. I think in was it in February? When no, the ceremony was in December or November. Like some months ago. Um, I think first of all, the Ballon d'Or is given like yearly or how to see, like I guess like by a calendar year and not
I
for the
think they
season. You know what I mean?
changed it
So
just now, but I'm not sure.
or could be, yeah. I'm not sure as well, but yeah. So it was a lot. I also was like really deep into it, like deep into the debate because a lot of people were actually unhappy that Aitana won the 2025 one, so the one a couple of months ago. And they were like, "Oh my god, like Alessia Russo was robbed and whatnot." They are all like good players. At the end of the day, like I and they like played in different styles, you know.
Yeah,
So I yeah, that's
like
what I mean by I don't want to get into that debate because like I remember how polarizing and exhausting it was when like people should just like enjoy football and the footballers
yeah,
and like not pit them against each other that much. I mean, I know they're competitors and like they're rivals and whatnot.
like in
Uh,
a team sport, individual accolades aren't too important. And I know I just got upset about exactly that. But however,
yeah.
it's just like I'm just a bit tired of like English sports media, and I'm just tired of like a certain portion of English sports fans and how they think like everyone who hasn't got like a player with a certain passport can be world class. It just annoys the living hell out of me. They are gonna be so upset when
Yeah.
Putellas wins it this year.
No, legit.
No, just
Yeah,
just
they
kidding.
are.
Russo is still a world class player, and I definitely would have seen a case for her in the last season to win the Ballon d'Or. Yes, I'm just happy that the English teams are out by now, because both English sports press could be quite unbearable if they would have gone
Oh
through.
yes, confirm.
And also with the amount of resources and how they're distributed among like football in general, but also obviously the pinnacle. I'm just like the English game is leaps and bounds away from everyone else, bar like 4 or 5 other teams. And if we're completely honest, Lyon's one of those teams that are still close enough to challenge. So not like
Yeah.
a plucky underdog one here, but still, it's basically like a Super League light when it's because the English market is by far the most lucrative in the men's and women's game. That they completely
Mm.
dominate the hegemony. I just think that's not great for the sport.
Yeah, but they are being like for example, Barcelona is that example that they are being challenged, and now Lyon, who took out Arsenal of the Champions League, Bayern. I feel like if Bayern and Arsenal had met, that would have been also a very interesting tie. So I think they are slowly but surely being challenged, and for me right now, given the season that Arsenal had, and as you said, I think it was a failure of a season for them. That's how
Yeah,
they'll classify it, because they didn't even reach the final. I mean, they could have reached the final, of the Champions League and lost it, and it still would have been something. But they didn't even reach it. So
and like
um,
one must say
yeah,
that like obviously it's incredibly hard to repeat like a Champions League win,
yeah,
and also that one
um,
knockout, one single match shouldn't decide how one feels about the entire season. But that's knockout football for you. I don't know.
mm, yeah. So that's that on that. I think Arsenal will bounce back. They have, as we established now, really like world class players.
G'day, Charlene and Post here. So well, we didn't get to the prediction part since our recording unfortunately crashed. However, it's rather similar what Rumiana and I both predicted. Both of us think that Barcelona will persevere. I think Rumi thinks it will be more tight and close than I do. We both think that Lyon will be able to give Barcelona a good run for the money, though, and also that if they want to cook up something, it must be over the fast wings since of defensive vulnerability of Barcelona on the flanks. So it will be a case of Diani and Brandt that do have to provide a number of good deep runs, and Lyon with Dumonay and Lily Johannes do have players that are capable of delivering deep passes. So if they do want to hurt Barcelona, that will be the way that we think it could happen. Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. Feel free to leave us a comment or share your takes for a final or your takes on the game that just happened. Yeah, we hope you have a nice day and see you in the next one. Good on ya. Bye bye.